Communication and goals to help enlarge a conversation as well as addresses the concerns of external and internal noise pollution. Slide 2. Through practicing good communication skills, we can experience bonds and caring relationships that provide warmth and love. Peterson discusses keys to balancing communication. He stated that the formula to good communication requires listening and talking. However, the key is to listen until the other person is ready to hear what we have to say and talk until the other person is no longer actively engaged. Stewart identified communication as being continuous, complex, and collaborative, which may help to improve my I behavior of not listening. Slide 3. After I completed the assessment and obtained my uniquely you report, it was determined that I am a CIS. My communication in terms of feeling and thinking tends to be very emotional. Learning that I am very emotional led me to think about attributes that I need to improve upon in my communication skills, such as taking turns during conversation, listening without being judgmental, not being emotional during conversation, holding my rebuttal, not being verbally aggressive, and not being defensive during conversation. Slide 4. Ways to expand the conversation can be utilized through listening responses. The listening responses are empathetic response, advice response, asking question response, and critical response. Empathetic response is what I scored the highest on when I took the test, and that is when you're being non-judgmental. Advice response is when you're offering advice, which can prolong the conversation. Asking question is gathering additional information, and critical response is being critical of the other, which is not good in conversation. Slide 6. A specific interpersonal communication need that I hope to improve upon is the taking turns concept, so that I can conversate in a way that is not one-sided or that I am not monopolizing the whole conversation. Slide 7. Everyone has emotions. It's how we handle them that separate us. I need to assure that I do not let my emotions overtake me in conversation so that I don't get upset over something I may not agree with. Slide 8. According to Peterson, listening without being judgmental requires putting our beliefs and values aside while we're engaged in a conversation so that we can listen without being judgmental. I need continual prayer so that I do not find myself being judgmental of others. Slide 9. Completing an effective communication self-evaluation, I learned that my listening skills were fair, which would put me on a level 3 for my listening skills. I need to make sure that I'm not focusing mainly on me. Slide 10. Holding your rebuttal per Burley Allen can be a way to decrease verbal aggression. This can be a form of verbal aggression. For me, I sometimes may want to speak before a person has finished speaking, and that may be considered aggression. Slide 11. Verbal aggression is communication that attacks another person's self-concept. Verbal aggression is never a good form of communication, and I hope that I do not let my emotions overtake me during conversation so that I verbally aggress someone else. Slide 12. In conversation, you may hear words that cause us to want to lash out or become defensive. I am guilty of lashing out. When I hear something that I perceive as aggressive or hurtful to me, I need to listen without forming a preconceived conception of what I think the other person is meaning or thinking. Slide 13. Free-flowing communication is something that I can relate to in my everyday communication. Communication is a great way to be less judgmental. If I find that I am accepting of others, they are accepted of me, which is a free-flowing communication. And in turn, we are not critical of each other. Slide 14. Burley Allen discusses the importance of expressing our negative feelings. It is important to be honest and open when we communicate. It may be helpful to read the I-rational approach. The I-rational approach that Burley Allen wrote about appears to be very helpful in communicating in a non-blaming manner. and using words like win-win and responsibility, all of which are designed to keep us from using the blaming approach during communication. Slide 15. According to Stanfield, internal noise pollution may be the thoughts that run through our head. The thoughts are hard to shut off and may cause us to become distracted and difficult to communicate. The thoughts that run through our head could be in the middle of the night, it could be during the day, and these thoughts just don't leave our head, and it's hard for us to communicate outside of those internal thoughts. Slide 16. At certain times of the day, we may have more energy than others. Burley and Allen talked about fatigue as a factor that we need to take into consideration when we're listening to others. And if we're feeling too fatigued, we may not be able to listen appropriately during conversation. For me, that can affect our internal thoughts that are running in our head. We need to make sure, and help prevent this, we need to make sure that we are not feeling too fatigued. Slide 7.